In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, left Egypt, accompanied by his nephew Lut, peace be upon him, who then went to the city of Sodom, which was on the western shore of the Dead Sea. This city was filled with evil. Its residents waylaid, robbed, and killed travelers. Another common evil among them was that men had sex with men instead of with women. This unnatural act later became known as sodomy after the city of Sodom. It was practiced openly and unashamedly. It was at the height of these crimes and sins that Allah revealed to Prophet Lut, peace be upon him, that he should summon the people to give up their indecent behavior. But they were so deeply sunk in their immoral habits that they were deaf to Lut's preaching. The doings of Lut's people sat in his heart. Their unwholesome reputation spread throughout the land, while he struggled against them. As the years passed, he persisted in his mission, but to no avail. No one responded to his call and believed except for the members of his family, and even in his household. Not all the members believed. Lut's wife, like Noah's wife, a disbeliever. If home is the place of comfort and rest, then Lut found none. For he was tormented both inside and outside his home. His life was continuous torture, and he suffered greatly. But he remained patient and steadfast with his people. The years rolled by, and still not one believed in him. Instead, they belittled his message and mockingly challenged him. Bring Allah's torment upon us if you are one of the truthful. Al-Quran 29 verse 29. Overwhelmed with despair, Lut prayed to Allah to grant him victory and destroy the corrupt. Therefore, the angels left Abraham, peace be upon him, and headed for Sodom, the town of Lut, peace be upon him. They reached the walls of the town in the afternoon. The first person who caught sight of them was Lut's daughter, who was sitting beside the river, filling her jug with water. When she lifted her face and saw them, she was stunned that there could be men of such magnificent beauty on earth. One of the three men, angels, asked her, "O maiden, is there a place to rest?" Remembering the character of her people, she replied, "Stay here and do not enter until I inform my father and return." Leaving her jug by the river, she swiftly ran home. "O father," she cried, "you are wanted by young men at the town gate, and I have never before seen the like of their faces." Lut felt distressed as he quickly ran to his guests. He asked them where they came from and where they were going. They did not answer his questions. Instead, they asked if he could host them. He started talking with them and impressed upon them the subject of his people's nature. Prophet Lut was filled with turmoil. He wanted to convince his guests without offending them, not to spend the night there. Yet at the same time, he wanted to extend to them the expected hospitality normally accorded to guests. In vain he tried to make them understand the perilous situation. At last, therefore, he requested them to wait until the night fell, for then no one would see them. When darkness fell on the town, Prophet Lut escorted his guests to his home. No one was aware of their presence, however. As soon as Lut's wife saw them, she slipped out of the house quietly so that no one noticed her. Quickly, she ran to her people with the news, and it spread to all the inhabitants like wildfire. The people rushed towards Prophet Lut quickly and excitedly. Prophet Lut, peace be upon him, was surprised by their discovery of his guests, and he wondered who could have informed them. The matter became clear, however, when he could not find his wife anywhere, thus adding grief to his sorrow. When Lut saw the mob approaching his house, he shut the door, but they kept on banging on it. He pleaded with them to leave the visitors alone and fear Allah's punishment. He urged them to seek sexual fulfillment with their wives, for that is what Allah had made lawful. Lut's people waited until he had finished his short sermon, and then they roared with laughter. Blinded by passion, they broke down the door. Lut became very angry, but he stood powerless before these violent people. He was unable to prevent the abuse of his guests, but he firmly stood his ground and continued to plead with the mob. At that terrible moment, he wished he had the power to push them away from his guests. Seeing him in a state of helplessness and grief, the guests said, "Do not be anxious or frightened. We are angels, and these people will not harm you." On hearing this, the mob was terrified and fled from Lut's house, hurling threats at him as they left. The angels warned Prophet Lut, peace be upon him, to leave his house before sunrise, taking with him all his family except his wife. Allah had decreed that the city of Sodom should perish. An earthquake rocked the town. It was as if a mighty power had lifted the entire city and flung it down in one jolt. A storm of stones rained on the city. Everyone and everything was destroyed, including Lut's wife. The book was closed on the people of Lut, peace be upon him. Their towns and names have been erased from the face of the earth. Gone are they from memory. One book was closed of the books of corruption. Lut, peace be upon him, proceeded towards Abraham, peace be upon him. He visited him, and when he recounted the story of his people, he was surprised to learn that Abraham, peace be upon him, already knew. So Lut, peace be upon him, continued to invite people to Allah, as did Abraham, peace be upon him, the patient one who turned to Allah repentantly, and the two held firm to their mission. The Prophet cursed 3 times the one who does the action of the people of Lut, which is unprecedented. We seek Allah's refuge from this. The heart-rending incident of the people of Allah contains a great deal of wisdom and counsel. May the Muslims travel the straight path of fearing Allah Almighty, and they abstain from going against the commands of Allah and Rasul. May Allah send peace and blessings upon him and gain the goodness of both the worlds. Ameen. Thank you for watching. Spread the light by sharing this video with your loved ones. Together, let's inspire and uplift one another. Peace and blessings be upon you all.